Hi, this is Mason Plus. It is brought to you by my friend Jacob Imrani. If you're in Southern California and you're involved in any kind of accident, he is the guy you want. 800-345-6789. That's 800-345-6789. Call jacob.com. Now on with the show. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Mason Plus. It is episode number 8 and got a great guest today. It is Gary Vitti, who for 30 years was the head athletic trainer for the Los Angeles Lakers. Magic stories, Kareem stories, Jerry West stories, Kobe Bryant stories, all coming up for you on the show. Before we get to Gary, I want to let you know that your support of the show is really important. If you are watching the show on YouTube, hit the like button, subscribe to the show, and you can write any kind of comment, reaction, whatever, down below. If you're listening on Apple and Spotify, please hit the subscribe button. You can leave a 5-star rating and review, and I appreciate that a lot. Again, 3 decades of excellence with the Los Angeles Lakers. Here is my conversation with Gary Vitti. Hey, Gary, thanks a lot for doing this, man.
Thanks for having me, Steve. It's nice to see you again.
Good to see you. You mentioned the hair is white these days.
Yes. Yeah. But you got a full head of it, man.
I do, which I'm grateful for. Yeah.
Yeah, it should be. I mean, I had a really nice head of hair, but that was quite a long time ago. And I'm not embarrassed to say I waited way too long before I just couldn't. I didn't know if I don't know what I was thinking. Like, it wasn't coming back, but I just wasn't ready to get rid of it. And it's Kobe that kept saying, you need to shave your head, man.
Is that right?
Oh, yeah. And I said, well, what I'm waiting on is I'm waiting for like a white guy, to shave his head and make it really cool, like Michael Jordan did for you guys. And he said, that's you. You're the guy.
You are the mascot for all white guys who shave their heads after you. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's what he suggested, but I don't think it worked out that way. I'm just another old bald guy with a white goatee. That's about it.
So I want to know how you started in all this. Like, how did you wind up going from where you were to head athletic trainer for the Lakers for 3 decades? What came before that?
This is going to be the whole show, man. Okay. Yeah, and it's one of the stories. So I wrote a book back in 2019, and the book isn't really about me. It's about the great lessons that I learned from the great legends that I work with. But I was told by many people, you got to write something about yourself so they know who's talking to them.
Yeah.
And then many people have come to me, especially parents saying and teachers saying, it was a really good message because my path was a circuitous one. It's not like I was 18 years old going to college and I wanted to be an athletic trainer. It wasn't even on my mind. I mean,
right.
And to kind of put that in perspective a little bit is, we've had athletic trainers around since the gladiators, but if we really look at sports medicine as a recognized discipline, that's recognized by the AMA, we're probably really around 50 years old, maybe 5 decades. Okay. And I've been around since, say, 79, 80 is when I broke in. So if you look at it that way, I'm kind of one of the old new guys. Okay. Where, you actually graduated from a sports medicine / athletic training program. There weren't that many in the country to begin with. So, sometimes the athletic trainer was the guy that had the keys to the gym and he knew how to tape an ankle or something. And if you got hurt, he came out with a bucket and a sponge. And that's kind of the old school athletic trainer.
Right.
And then you come into the 70s, say the early to late 70s. And now there's these formally educated people with science backgrounds. And that would have been me. But I didn't start out that way. So I graduated from undergrad in 76, not knowing what I wanted to do. Went into the corporate world, literally wore a three-piece suit and a white shirt and a tie for 3 years. And looked at, when I was 25, I was looking at guys that were 35. I said, I don't know, man, this doesn't look like, it's me. And my sister helped me. She was a librarian, by giving me these government, I think they still have them. The government puts out these reports of where they think the job market's going to be like, where there's going to be a lot of jobs. Like right now, engineering, tech, those kinds of things, right? Well, believe it or not, and grab your seat for this, because one of the areas was meteorology. Okay.
Okay.
Well, that's pretty cool. I mean, I'm from Connecticut, about 40 miles from Manhattan, Stanford, but it was kind of, in those days, it was kind of country living. I mean, I grew up on a dirt road behind a dairy farm. It's not like that now. Very outdoorsy. I The number one program in the country was MIT. No surprise, I didn't get in. One of the top programs in the country was the University of Utah, and I did get in. So I packed my bags and I I quit my job and moved to Salt Lake City. Everybody thought I was crazy, friends, family, where you go? Utah, like, you join a cult or and got there, and first semester, I pretty much realized that I was the dumbest one in the class. Um, I could do it, but it didn't really come naturally to me. These are real brainiac people, okay?
Right.
Lots of math, lots of physics, that kind of stuff. And once again, I could do it, but, it was hard. It was hard work for me. Didn't come naturally. Christmas, I'll try to make this short, but it's Christmas vacation comes around. I hop in my 72 Bronco. I drive to California. Two friends are swim coaches at UCLA. One became the Olympic water polo coach.
Oh, wow.
Rich Corso. And he gave me a book on sports medicine, because I was kind of pissing and moaning to those guys that, quit my job. I moved to Salt Lake City. I'm in with these brainiacs, and, I think I made a mistake. And he hands me this book on sports medicine. And then we all get on an airplane. We fly back to New York to visit our families. Christmas vacation. We fly back to California. I get in my Bronco. I drive back to Salt Lake City. I've read the book, and I said, I think I found my calling.
Wow.
I go to the head athletic trainer, Bill Bean, at the University of Utah, plead my case. The man was absolutely wonderful with his time. You could feel his passion for what he was doing. And then we finished our conversation by him saying, I think you'd be good at this, but there's no room in this program. And the problem is, once again, there's not a lot of programs.
Yeah.
And so I didn't know what to do. I was still in the meteorology program, and I didn't want to make a really uneducated switch after just one meeting with a guy. So I asked him if I could, in my spare time, could I come to the training room and stand in the corner, and I won't touch anything and I won't talk to anybody. I just want to observe and make sure that this is what I want to do with the rest of my life. And he said, of course. And if you've ever been in a Division I football locker room for practice, I mean, there's a lot of testosterone. I mean, these guys are big and aggressive, and it's wild. And I learned that if you hang around a place long enough, you sort of become part of the fabric of the place. Well, we get a huge snow dump. A couple of student athletic trainers called in sick, but they weren't sick. They went skiing.
Yep.
Team found out, threw them out of the program, let me in. Hey, 1979, same year, the New Orleans Jazz moved to Utah. So I started working football right away. Got a second bachelor's degree pretty quick. Started my master's degree, finished that. Pretty soon, the Jazz called the university. They wanted a part-time assistant. They sent me down there. And this is during the Vrains, Chambers, Pace Mannion era, okay, of basketball at the U. But I worked football. Okay. So I didn't have much basketball experience. So it was great for me to go down there and learn a bit about the game. And Bill Burka was on that bench. Okay. And so a couple years later, so I worked for the Jazz for a couple of years part-time, got to know a lot of people in the NBA. And then Pat Riley takes over and he needs an assistant. So he calls Bill Burka. The Burka leaves the Jazz and goes to the Lakers. I finish my master's, start my PhD, and I get a call from the University of Portland. So we've heard about you through the NBA, and we like to get you up here. So I leave Utah. I go to University of Portland, become the head guy up there, become an adjunct professor up there. And 2 years later, the Lakers lost to the Celtics for the 8th time. Riley wants to make some changes. My name's bouncing around. Bill Burka tells Jerry West and Pat Riley, you need to talk to this guy that was working on his PhD at Utah. He's up at Portland now. I get a call from Mary Lou Liebig, Jerry West's administrative assistant. They send me a first-class ticket. Never flew first class before. I get off the plane. Jerry West is waiting for me curbside at LAX.
Wow.
In a navy blue Mercedes with tan interior. Okay. Drives me to the fabulous forum. And that particular day that I interviewed for, I don't know, 5-6 hours with Jerry West and Pat Riley, it just happened to be that USA Basketball played Spain for the gold medal in the '84 Olympics.
Oh, wow.
Put it together. First class ticket. Never were there before. Never was even in a Mercedes, let alone Jerry West is driving it.
Right.
Never been to the fabulous forum. It's the gold medal Olympic game. I mean, it was just the magic carpet ride because my idea was to finish my PhD and become a college professor in sports medicine, have a human performance laboratory. That's where my head was at, academia. And I probably, there would have been very few teams that I would have even gone to the interview, but it was the Lakers.
Yep.
You got to go. Okay. And after the interview, they said, well, you remember the Real City Hotel across from the Forum, the Airport Park Hotel?
Yeah.
Yeah. So after the interviews, all these hours that I was with these guys, they said, well, you just walk across the street and there'll be a shuttle that could take you back to the airport. I was like, well, what happened to them? Jerry driving me in the Mercedes. I assumed they didn't want me, but they called me a couple of days later. And I spent the next 32 years of my life with that franchise. But the message is, like I said, that I've gotten back was, if you're not happy with what you're doing, have the intestinal fortitude and the strength and the courage to change it. I mean, I left a really good corporate job to be a student, and then it didn't work out the way I wanted it to initially, but I found something else. I found the passion.
Right.
And if that could be the message for some people at any age, actually, I think there's people now, when we were kids, I mean, I think our parents, you had one job, you did that for the rest of your life, and that was it. Even if
that had worked for Israel and Kodak, that was his job, salesman.
Might have been miserable, we don't know, but he had to provide, It's not that way now, Sometimes even 32 years with one franchise in the NBA, that's unheard of. I mean, there's guys that have maybe a few more years with me in the NBA, but they were pretty much with multiple teams.
Yeah, right.
So, there's something there. I'm not exactly sure what the message is, but don't be afraid to change your life if you're not happy.
So, first day on the job, you're working with some of the greatest athletes in the world. Is there any level of, I'm going to use the word intimidation, or was it intimidating your first day on the job?
Not intimidating at all, but awestruck in a way, but not starstruck. Awestruck, very different. Okay. So in those days, we didn't have a practice site, right? None of the NBA teams did. Pretty much practice at Loyola Marymount one day, Pauley Pavilion, Inglewood Y, Inglewood High School, Morningside High School. We bounced around. So there was really no place to go. no central location where all the players and coaches would all go, like we have today, an actual brick and mortar practice site.
Right.
So the only place to go kind of was the Forum, but there wasn't much there either. Jerry West had an office, Jerry Buss had an office, Bill Sharman had an office. Remember Josh Rosenfeld?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, Josh was the PR guy. He had an office. So I didn't know what to do. So I went there, and so players would pop in, like you might meet Michael Cooper one day or Kurt Rambis another day, but you never saw all of them together as a team until we actually went to training camp. And so the first time I saw, in those days, we had 12 players. We probably didn't even have 20 in camp, maybe 18. Okay, there might have been 20. I don't really remember. But it was the first time I saw all these guys together in one place. I had worked a couple of years in the NBA, so I've been around big people. To watch them run 3-line rush, like we were a fast break team, Showtime team.
Yep.
But it just didn't happen by happenstance. It wasn't just like a rebound out to the outlet guy. And I mean, we practiced fast breaks. We practiced sideline. I mean, there was different stuff that Riley did. And to watch these guys run the floor, maybe 3 passes in 90 feet with the ball never touching the floor.
Amazing. Yeah.
It was, for me, to see the athleticism all in one place was being awestruck for me. Wow, I really did. And I'll tell you what, I actually had this conversation with Riley on the interview saying, I'm not sure this is what I want to do. Come to the NBA. I've already experienced it. The Jazz were pretty bad.
Yep.
Travel schedule was brutal. I don't know that this is me. I'm looking at some, another academia seems to be me. And Riley said to me, and once again, it's in the book, he said, well, you can do everything you want to do, but you can do it with the greatest athletes in the world. That was a good line.
Yeah.
A really good line. And then when I saw it for the first time, I said, boy, this guy's right. And the Eastern Conference team, we used to call that goon ball, right? Because
sure.
Big physical guys, they beat you up. We weren't like that, so it was kind of like, wow. And I got hooked right away.
Yep.
It took a while. For me, I think a little bit, Byron Scott and I are extremely close because we kind of experienced the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
So Byron came to the Lakers because they traded Norm Nixon, right? The Clippers, right? The Clippers drafted Byron. Before he ever put that jersey on, he was traded to the Lakers. But Norm was a pretty special guy with the Laker franchise. The players liked them, the fans liked them. Jack Nicholson wore a black armband. So when Byron showed up, he was kind of like shunned, and he had to earn their respect, and he did.
Right.
I was in a different way, but similar. I was kind of the same way. Like, who's this guy? What's he bringing to the party? And so I had to earn that respect. But since nobody was talking to Byron and nobody was talking to me, Byron and I were talking to each other, and we became really close, and we are to this day.
Yeah.
As all the Showtime guys are. It's quite.
Are you close to those guys today? Do you still?
Extremely close.
Wow.
Okay. Worthy, Michael Cooper, James Worthy, Byron Scott, myself, extremely close. We see each other often. All the wives get along, so that helps. Okay.
Yep.
Also, Bob McAdoo, extremely close. Problem with that is he lives, on the other side of the country.
Right.
I see him in Italy quite often because he married an Italian woman that lives in the same town as my brother, but my brother passed away. Brother from a different mother, I should say.
Okay.
My Italian brother. Okay. but we're all extremely close.
That's
And
very cool.
if you see, you can see that you could have seen that when we went to the reunion in Maui.
Yes.
I mean, it was real. It was amazing. It was like it was like yesterday that we were all together, and now we're doing it again in September. We're doing it in the Bahamas.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah, yeah. So we're all very excited about getting together again.
So, how obviously we live in this age where players, very few players play all the games. There's this thing called load management, and guys don't play every game anymore. And people are very careful. You sort of have this sports science background, but I would imagine that load management was never a thing. Like, could you have load managed a guy in the Showtime era?
No, you got fined if you tried to do that. Actually,
Yeah.
if you held the guy out, you face a fine, and to the point where if we were late in the season and you already clinched your playoff spot and a particular spot, but you still had 1 or 2 games left, you couldn't move up, couldn't move down. You were there, and you sat two of your players. You got fined
Wow.
for that, for a meaningless game. Okay. But it wasn't meaningless to the fans. That's how David Stern looked at it. They paid for that ticket. They might have paid for it a year ago, 6 months ago or whatever. Kind of our philosophy with load management was to go up by 30 points,
That's a good way to load manage. Yes.
Yeah, and then sit your starters and let the blue team come in and finish the job, because those guys were, even our second team was extremely competitive, because a lot of those, at least a couple of those guys could have started for any team in the league, and
Yeah.
a lot of times felt like they could have started for the Lakers. Okay?
So were there moments where guys are dinged up dealing with some sort of injury and you've got to tell them, no, you can't play in this game? Did that happen in that era?
Yeah, there's probably some of that. It was a different era. So in the sense that we were probably the best conditioned team in the league once again, because we were a running team. So we
Right.
had to be. And Pat Riley was our coach. Okay. So I'm not taking any credit for the conditioning. Riley was, our guy.
Yep.
Okay. The strength training, the flexibility stuff, that kind of fell on my back. But all the running and stuff, that was controlled by Pat. And he was very progressive. Okay? And he had a very good feel for what was going on. And it's hard to explain. Let's talk about load management in the terms of analytics, because that's kind of where it's coming from, right?
Yeah.
The bottom line. Okay. And so they're able to measure things objectively now that we could not measure objectively back in the day. It was subjective.
Right.
But Riles subjectively was probably as accurate as any of the high-speed cameras that they have in every arena. If your fans don't know that, there's high-speed cameras that shoot 25 frames a second in every arena in the league, and they recognize all 13 people on the floor. 5 on each side plus the 3 officials, and that's without sensors. They know it by the number, and they can measure accelerations, decelerations. As a result, they can come up with average speed. It's quite interesting when you look at all that stuff. Now, having said all that, if you're a guy like Pat Riley, I would like to include myself, but I'm not, because I don't think I'm a Pat Riley, but I was around long enough. A lot of what analytics will do is tell you something that you already know intuitively, because you've been around the game
Right.
for a long time. That's number one. Number two, it might be something that you're sort of on the fence about. You're not sure whether to go this way or that way, but the analytics will tell you to go this way. My suggestion to you would be go with the analytics for no other, because you're on the fence. It's not like you're betraying your bet. Okay. If no other reason, it's a CYA. Okay. You're covering the analytics told me to do it that way.
Yep.
The third thing is if it comes out of left field, like I didn't see this, but the analytics are telling me that it's there, you should probably look at it. Okay. And that probably seldom happens, but it could be the case. So maybe what's kind of happening is the analytics are also an interpretation of the data. Okay. When we talk about statistics, it's always inferential statistics. It's what we infer. Right. There's no cause and effect with statistics. Okay. We look at correlations. Okay. We look at clusters of data. Okay. That tell us, there's all this cluster of data that's over here, so it must be true.
Yep.
It'll tell you, well, he shoots better when he takes 2 steps to the right. Okay. Well, yeah, but that's not every single time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it doesn't account for who's on the other side of that ball, because there's almost too much data. So how do you mine out or weed out the data that's superfluous? Okay.
Right.
Okay. So it can get extremely, extremely complicated.
So it's about interpreting the data.
You got it. So the money's not in the sensors. You can't wear them in games, but you can wear them in practice and in workouts. The money's not in the sensors. The money's not in the high-speed cameras. The money's in the algorithm. Okay. And who's creating those algorithms? And the bottom line is that some people are better at it than others. But then you got a Pat Riley, who's a human algorithm.
Yep.
And you're going to believe me or you're lying eyes. I mean, he sees it. He sees it. He has an intuition. Okay. And I've said this about him. I've done this many times, had this discussion, that to get to the top, for the most part, you got to go to the bottom at some point.
Right.
Okay? If you're in the middle, it's the worst place to be. Okay. If you're at the top, you're going to attract free agents that want to come there to win. You got assets, meaning players that you can trade.
Sure.
Okay? If you're at the bottom, you're going to draft guys. Okay. And those are assets. So you can develop them and trade them, develop them, keep them. You can do stuff. If you're in the middle, you're probably not good enough to attract free agents.
Yep.
You don't have good enough players to trade to make a major deal to help, get you to the promised land. And you're not bad enough to draft.
Yep.
So you get stuck in the middle. Okay. Mediocrity. And you can pick out the teams that have been there. Riley somehow, I don't know how else to say this. It's a bad word on the air. They've never been shitty.
Yeah.
Right? They never go all the way to the bottom. Part of it is it's Miami. Guys want to play there. But the major parties developed a culture.
Yeah.
And if you don't fit into that culture, number one, they don't come after you.
Right.
Okay? And number two, you're the kind of guy that says, I want to play. It's like a guy who enlists in the Marines, right?
Yes.
They draft. You know what I mean? A Marine is a guy, I want to be a Marine.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's that kind of mentality. And, being around, as long as I was around, I just have the utmost respect for him. And going back to that Showtime reunion and that family that we have, hey, without Jerry West and Pat Riley, there is no Showtime. Okay. And it might not, you might have been angry here and there. And I say this about a team. What I learned from those guys is that a team is like a family.
Right.
And sometimes you get mad at your mom and dad or your brother, or your sister. Okay. but you never stopped loving them. And that love we still have today.
That's beautiful.
Okay.
That's a beautiful thing.
Really is. It was.
It's rare.
It's not every day. Okay.
Yeah.
There are times where there was friction, but at the end, you look back and the amount of respect that we had for each other and the love, it's never died.
Yeah. Yeah. So let me ask you about Jerry, because first of all, did you see the documentary that was done on Jerry that's on Prime about his life and his career?
I'm in it.
Oh, that's right. You're in it. Of course you are. Of course you're in it. So how accurate was that in sort of capturing who Jerry was? And I want to know from you I mean, he had those losses to the Celtics. What did that do to him, and how did that fuel him, do you think?
I think the doc, it's called The Logo.
Yep.
Is 100% accurate. Like if I had the ability to tell his story, that's the story that I would tell. I was actually also on the set in Winning Times, and I walked off the set. Okay.
Oh, you did walk off?
Yeah, because they mischaracterized him.
Jerry.
And I had significant conversations with them. It was not acrimonious in the sense that they understood where I was coming from, that I cannot be a part of this. They said to me, we need you to understand that this is not a documentary. This is a docuseries. And I was like, yeah, but like I'm Italian. I watched The Godfather. That was loosely based on real people. Like Johnny Fontaine was supposed to be Frank Sinatra.
Sure.
Yeah, but they didn't call him Sinatra. They called him Johnny Fontaine. You're actually calling the guy Jerry West.
Exactly.
People that don't know him are going to believe this.
Yeah. What was the biggest thing they got wrong in Winning Time?
Almost everything with him. I mean, the violence, the screaming, the thing, throwing things. Okay. Absolutely 100% not it at all. Okay. With Jerry, like under his breath, he might pull you aside and put his arm around you, and there might be a couple of F-bombs that came out. I never heard him actually curse at someone. And the same thing with Dr. Buss, by the way. Okay, when because I was there, Jonah Hill was my director. Great, I mean, he was great. John C. Reilly. When I was talking to John C. Reilly, I thought I was talking to Dr. Buss.
Did you really? It was that good. It was that
unbelievable. He walked like him. He talked like him. He smoked like him. He dressed like him. He just he jumps up on the desk and he starts cursing at everybody. Like if you didn't know Dr. Buss, you would have believed, that
right.
That it wasn't him. Dr. Buss. First of all, Dr. Buss would need a stepladder to get up on the desk. Okay. And he didn't curse at anybody, It was, he the epitome of walk softly, carry a big stick, that I think Roosevelt said that, whoever.
Yeah.
Okay. He was that guy. Jerry was a tough guy too. You know what I mean? The highest morals, values, ethics, the things that the Celtics did to us in terms of freezing us out in the winter and sweating us out at the Garden in the summer. The kind of guy I am, where I came from, hey, let's dish it back. And Jerry was absolutely not.
Right.
You when they come into the forum, you treat them with respect. And then our guys are going to take their guys out on the floor. We're going to kick their ass out there. That's how.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, what kind of human being does that? Somebody with that you would have the highest regard for.
Right.
And that's who Jerry West really was.
So let's talk leadership, because that's one of the things you write about in your book, which I am a proud owner of.
Okay.
To get ready for this. You talk a lot about leadership. I want to ask you about the leadership role on Showtime. How was the balance? How did they reach sort of this peaceful leadership that existed between Kareem and Magic? Where did that come from? How was it balanced? How did it happen?
Well, I think, before Magic got there, and he was there before I was there. So I was with the Jazz. Okay. He came in 79, 80, and then I came in 80, 81 in the NBA with the Jazz. So I wasn't there when Magic arrived, but sort of, you hear like how the whole thing worked when you kind of enter the scene.
Yep.
And obviously Kareem, he was the captain before Magic got there. And, Norm was there too. Michael Cooper. They had some guys that were already there. Okay. And now Magic comes in. He's like 19 years old, extremely bright, extremely talented, but can really read a room. Okay. And I think what Magic kind of figured out was, how can I be the leader, but tell everybody else that they're the leader? Okay. And that's what he did.
God, that's smart.
Yeah. And I tell you how I think that happened. And it's in one of the chapters. And I talk about, we can call them boxes or we can call them window panes. Okay. And they call them window panes of truth. And so, Steve, here's what I want you to do.
Okay.
If I think you're a leader, I'm going to present this to you. You're going to come to this team. I'm already there. And I'm going to say to you, at the right time, when I got you in the training room, you're a rookie. And I'm going to say, you know what? I want to talk to you about something. I want you to picture a window frame with 4 panes in it. And then one window, I want you to put how you see yourself. And window number 2, I want you to put how you think other people see you. And window number 3, I want you to put how other people really see you. And in window number 4, I want you to put how you really are.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, if all 4 of those panes are the same, then you know who you are.
Right.
And as a result, people will know who you are and they will trust you and they will follow you. But if they're not the same, and especially if all 4 of them are different, but if they're fragmented in any way, and you kind of, given an air of, I'm trying to act like this, but this isn't really who I am.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean? But it's what I think you need me to be or whatever. They're going to see right through you. And so when you look at Kareem is Kareem.
Yeah.
What you see is what you get. Okay. Pat Riley was that way. Jerry West was that way. Okay. These were the leaders before Magic got there. And I think Dr. Buss was that way too. There was nothing phony about the man.
Yeah.
And you could talk about his lifestyle or whatever, but it's not like he was hiding anything.
Right.
He was, this is me,
But that Magic Kareem relationship, how was that balanced?
Well, I think that they figured it out before I got there. Okay. But, Kareem was still, even like 80, 45 when I got there, he was considered an old man. And, he was injured in the finals in 1980, Magic's, rookie year.
Yep.
And Magic ended up playing center and they won the championship. They lose the next year. And now it's 85 and we got the Celtics again.
Yep.
And we open up, the first game of the 85 playoffs and we get beat by 34 points. Okay. Known to this day as the Memorial Day Massacre.
Yes.
And they talked about Kareem like he was an old man and his career was over, and they called Magic tragic, and the Lakers were the fakers, not the Lakers.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Kareem got in front of the whole team and took responsibility for the entire thing and guaranteed that he would not have a game like that again and that we would win. We ended up beating the Celtics for the first time in history, and Kareem ended up being the MVP of the finals. Now, that didn't happen by accident. That happened by those two working together along with the other guys. And so there was a mutual respect there that was established before I ever got there. And I didn't see anything, I didn't see it develop. It already existed.
Yeah.
It was there. So the question that you're asking me, I can only tell you there was mutual respect.
Right.
I didn't see how the genesis of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I only heard things that Magic knew that Kareem was the captain, and he respected that. And he made sure that Kareem was front and center. And then in '87, we finally get Michael Thompson to kind of help Kareem in the fast court, who he knew how to guard McHale, and you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, he tells me about it all the time.
Yeah, I know. I know. But you know what? To be honest, we don't win it without Michael.
Wow.
I don't think so. I mean, we repeated too, '87, '88.
Yep.
And we probably would have three-peated in '89 if those two guys, if Byron and Magic didn't go down.
Yep.
With the hamstring stuff after the book. We won 11 straight playoff games.
Yeah.
We were undefeated going into the finals. And then we had to wait, which might be what's going to happen to OKC.
Yeah, they might have to. Yeah.
Detroit's making a series out of it, and when you wait 4 days. Now this is back then. I don't know about now. You're saying with load management, and we can kind of come back to that because there's kind of more to talk about there. But 4 days for us without a game,
yep,
was not good. A couple of days, okay. 3, okay.
Right.
4, because there's nothing that we could do in practice to mimic a game. It's impossible.
Yep.
It just is. And the speed and the power of a real game cannot be reproduced in a practice. You just can't do it. Okay. And so to go 4 days. So knowing that, we went to Santa Barbara and we created a boot camp. Okay. To try to mitigate that. And it came back to kind of bite us.
Yeah.
In the butt.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Let's shift gears. Gears. Kobe Bryant arrives. How long did it take you to know there was something different about Kobe?
A while. And I'm like the only, everybody says that they saw it. I didn't see it.
Really?
The 17-year-old kid. We traded Vlade Divac, a legit 7-foot. I mean, you understand? Like, he was a legit 7-footer.
Oh yeah.
With great hands. I mean, Magic fires a pass at you. If you're not ready for it, you're not going to get it. It might bounce off your face. I mean, and if Vlade touched the ball, it was his. He had great footwork, huge basketball IQ, legitimate 7-foot guy, not a 6'10", 11 guy that we're trying to sell as 7 feet tall, established NBA player, future Hall of Famer. And then we trade him for Kobe, 17-year-old kid out of high school. Like, I mean, that's the foresight that Jerry West had that I didn't see, but I didn't have a vote.
Yeah.
And so I didn't see it. And probably, and there was even a time where, he's brash. I wouldn't use the word conceited, confident, but confident in a way that, man, I don't understand quite like how you are so confident, because you really haven't been tested yet.
Yes.
And you have no idea what's coming at you. Okay.
Would you say irrational confidence?
Yeah. Yes. But I mean, looking back on it, God bless him. You know what I mean? But at the time, I was looking at it, this guy's got no clue what's coming at him.
Right.
The night So the night before the first day of training camp, there was always a team dinner. Everybody got up and introduced themselves, especially the guys that were new, camp players or whatever, guys that we drafted. And so it was Kobe's first. And he gets up there, 17-year-old kid. And one of the things that he's saying is, hey, listen, I know I'm going to get hit. I know this is a, tough league and there's a lot of physicality in there, but I don't want you to worry about me. I don't want you to worry about me. I can take it. I can take it. I know I can. I'm sitting there thinking, is he trying to convince us or is he trying to convince himself?
Convince himself, sure.
Yeah, but I didn't know that. You know what I mean? And once again, is this some false sense of security that he has? Because I literally didn't see it. And I do remember him after a practice, walking off the court, and kind of full of himself, and he said something snide, and I answered him back, and sort of an East Coast to East Coast. So he was Philly, basically, right?
Yep.
And I'm going to be New York. He grew up in a Philly suburb. I grew up in Connecticut, but 40 miles from Times Square, right over the border in Stamford. So I'm New York all the way.
Yep.
In terms of culture. Okay?
Yeah.
It's not like I grew up in the South Bronx or something. I'm not saying that. But I could talk the talk, right? And I said something back at him. He looked down at me. He's 6'7", right? Because you'll see when I put 5 banners up on that wall. And there was already a bunch of banners up there, right? None of them.
Right.
Either. And I'm saying, yeah, right. Okay, I'm walking off the court with him. And I'm saying to myself, man, it's good to have confidence, but I don't know,
Well, did you think about talking to him about that?
No, because you couldn't talk to him. I mean, he just, later, we became, I was one of the only guys that I think I talked to him at the end. When he was talking about wanting to be traded, Mitch Kupchak called me. He says, you got to talk to Kobe. I said, what do I got to talk to him? You talk to him. He goes, you're the only one in the organization he'll talk to. Okay. Which wasn't true. He was talking to Jerry West too.
Right.
Okay. But I was one of the only people. And trust me, there were times when I was on the other end of him, his wrath. It wasn't
right.
games. Okay. In the end, we were magnificent. I mean, and the fun of it was because we couldn't win. In the end, he knew it, I knew it. We were just there for him to score as many points as he could and move on with the rest of his life. But the funny thing was that, I watched you grow up and you watched me grow old. And that's what we used to kind of say to each other. But going back, if there was a moment, it was when he threw up the air balls.
Oh, right? Yeah.
And then he went to the gym like 4:00 in the morning. And that was when I said, you know what? He's going to be okay.
Yeah.
And I think he really is. Because even Michael wasn't Michael yet when he first came in the league. And Kobe was trying to be Kobe, but he wasn't even Kobe yet, let alone Michael yet. You know what I mean?
Yes.
If you're trying to be something, instead of being on the journey to be that, you're already trying to be that. There's steps that you have to take. But eventually, he got there.
Was he the toughest guy you ever worked with in terms of just physical toughness, mental toughness?
100%. There's a lot of things that, listen, I make no bones about this, that when you look at Kobe Bryant through my eyes, as an NBA player, forget about who he is. He's looking at a 6'7", player. In the end, he wasn't a kid. He was 37, right?
Sure.
There's nothing special about him. Is he big? Yeah, compared to me, he's big. But by NBA standards, he's not a giant. Is he strong? Yes, he's very strong. But by NBA standards, he wasn't that strong. Was he quick and fast? Because those are two different things. Yes. But once again, by NBA standards, could he jump? Sure, but he didn't have like a 40-plus vertical like Zach LaVine or something.
Mm-hmm.
there was truly nothing extra special about him in terms of athleticism and those types of gifts.
Right.
So what was there about him that he ends up with 5 rings and other more gifted athletes end up with none? And one of them is what you said, that he was physically and mentally tougher than anyone else. And the physical toughness came from being mentally tough, in the sense that he took can't and won't out of his lexicon and replaced those words with can and will.
Yep.
Do you know that he got waterboarded?
No.
Okay. So you remember when they were doing that stuff in Guantanamo, and it was a really big deal, the torture and all that?
Exactly.
Okay. So he was hanging around with these Navy SEALs, right? And you were talking about that. And his thing was, well, nobody died, right? And they were like, no, but it's torture, you know? And he goes, but nobody died, right? And they said, no. He goes, well, I want to know, I want to see what the big deal is. And so he let them waterboard.
Waterboard him?
Yeah. Yeah. At least that's what he told me.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I believe him.
Sure.
100%. Do you know the Saw story?
I'm sorry, say it again.
The Saw, SAW, you know, those movies?
Oh, yeah, the Saw movies, yeah.
So we're on the plane. I don't know where we were going, where we were coming from. I don't remember. He comes back. I'm a couple seats behind him. He hands me this DVD. He goes, I could do it. And that's all he said. He turned around and walked away. I have no idea what he's talking about. I look at this thing, it says Saw on it. I have no idea what the movies are, but you know what they are.
Oh, yeah, I definitely know. They're like booby traps.
Yes, yeah. So, and there's different ones. Well, this particular one was the reverse bear trap. Do you remember what that? So, you know what a bear trap is?
Oh,
right?
sure. Yeah.
Bear trap does like this.
Yes.
So the reverse, right, is the reverse bear trap.
Okay.
So this guy's got this thing on his head, you know, and like the claws, like what would be the claws of the bear trap, are like inside of his mouth.
Yes.
And this thing is locked on his head. He can't get it off. And there's a padlock. It needs a key. So he's locked in this room that he can't get out.
Yep.
And the only thing that's in the room is him with this thing on his head. It's padlocked, and the key. And he has a scalpel, and he has an X-ray showing that the key was surgically embedded behind his eye. So he had to cut his eyeball out to get the key to unlock the lock to take the thing off his head. And he's telling me that he could do it. And then I watched the movie, and you want to know what? I believe him.
Yeah, yeah.
I believe him. And then
that's the guy that watched the Saw movie and said, I could do that.
I could do that. And we talked about it, and he would like talk me through it. Like, I know it would be like instant pain, you know, but I could handle it, and I could get the key and then get it off my head. And then I worry about, I have another eye, you know what I mean? And like he went through this whole sort of scenario in his head on how he could survive, you know?
That's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. Maniacal in a way, but in sort of this good way.
Did you ever, now given this toughness, did you ever have to say to Kobe, yeah, but you can't play tonight?
Yes.
And how did he respond to that?
Well, towards the end of the career, he was much more responsive. But, you know, at the beginning, I mean, you couldn't just say it. You had to give him evidence. And you couldn't just tell Kobe, like, you know, hey, okay, listen, you know, this is your IT band. Well, what's an IT band? Well, that's your iliotibial band. Well, what does it do? You know what I mean? And then he wouldn't even.
He wanted to know what it was.
And then he'd go and Google it. You know what I mean? And then maybe even talk to a few other people. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And then, like, you know, by the time you were talking to him, he probably knew as much as you did about it. And, you know, that he was Dr. Google, I used to call him, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, and then there was sort of other things like everybody talks about his work ethic, 100%. Nobody worked harder, but there's a lot of guys that work really hard. I mean, they'll work themselves into exhaustion. Okay. Kobe worked extremely hard, but he worked very smart. He was extremely intelligent about what he did and how he did it. There wasn't a lot of extraneous stuff. Everything was almost choreographed. He stepped on the court. He knew what he needed to do. Okay. And he didn't get off the court until he felt like he accomplished that. And what he needed to do, he figured out from what we had just done and then what's coming.
Right.
Okay. So, which leads to the next thing about his competitive spirit. Obviously, nobody was more competitive, but as competitive as he was, everybody experiences losses. Okay. Yep. And he just didn't sweep losses under the carpet, which many, many people do. Okay. He realized that we learn more from our failures than our successes. Okay? And that if we lost, he might have watched that game, not the wins, the losses, over and over and over again until he figured out why we lost from the first jump ball. Why not? Yeah, and learn from it. And how can I mitigate it? How can I make sure that this doesn't happen again? Not just watching what I did on the court, but what my teammates were doing.
Yeah.
You know? So, and it used to piss off some coaches because it was like having, there was the coach and then there was Kobe coaching his teammates.
Yep.
I think I'm the only athletic trainer that brought two posy boards out onto the court. I don't know if you ever noticed that. Okay.
No.
Okay. For a couple of reasons. One for the head coach, okay, for a timeout, and then one for Kobe. Okay. So that after the head coach finished talking, Kobe might call one of his players over and diagram something else. Okay. But also, and I mean this in the most respectful way, there were some players out there that you would consider learning disabled in some ways.
Okay.
ADD, ADHD, attention deficit stuff where if you're trying to draw up a play, it's not that easy to follow, to tell you the truth. When I start doing X's and O's and dotted lines and straight lines, and they, one line means this is a pass, this is a dribble, you know what I mean?
Yep.
It's if you don't know what they're doing or you don't have the attention for it, you can get lost by the third or fourth thing that's on the court. And so if you had a guy that you knew was that guy, number one, you probably don't want him in the game in a need situation. Okay. But if you feel like you got to have him out there, my feeling was you have this second board. Okay. And so the head coach does his thing. Okay. And then you get one of the assistants and he's got this board and he says he has a pen.
Yep.
And he marks it and goes, this is you. You're here. Go here. You're here. Go here.
Yep.
There's nothing else on the board. Okay. And he says it twice and he shows it to him twice and you got a shot. Okay. Because if you do it the other way, he's probably going to start out in the right spot. But then he's going to go by intuition. He's going to see what everybody else is doing. And well, they did. Okay, I guess I'm supposed to go over here. Yeah, but he's just doing it because he's played basketball for a really long time.
Sure.
And maybe that's not exactly the way they wanted it done. And when you get to this level, it's kind of interesting. We used to talk about Del Harris a lot, that would stop practice and talk about something for 15, 20 minutes. But what he talked about might have been spacing that was 6 to 12 inches. That's not a lot, right?
No, not a lot at all.
Foot.
Yeah.
It's the size of their shoe.
Yeah.
Right? But that 6 to 12 inches may make the difference of many different options on this play.
Yeah.
It could be a game of inches or less, So if you have a guy like that, he has some talent, maybe he's tall and he can shoot it, which in today's game, you have the stretch four, right?
Oh, yeah, sure.
Our four-man was a power forward.
Yep.
That was Kurt Rambis. That was AC Green. Your job is to defend and rebound. Okay. You were the fifth option. Okay. Now, that's probably the most important position on the floor is the stretch four.
Yes.
The tall guy could pull you out to the 3-point line.
Spacing, yeah.
Okay. That, and, Steph Curry's made the point guard extremely important. And he, we had, our point guards probably in the 80s, Isaiah Thomas was probably the best point guard, ball handling point guard, mentally, physically tough guy, on a team that it was easy to hate.
Oh, easy to hate. Yeah, easy to hate. So there are two more people I want to ask you about. I want to ask you about Shaq.
I already got my response. I burst out laughing.
Yes. So Shaq and Kobe and that relationship, what would have happened if Shaq had Kobe's relentless obsession with performance and training?
Well, he didn't even need to be Kobe. I mean, Kobe was on another planet all by himself, right? But,
yep.
If Shaq wanted to win every single game, we would have won every single game. If Shaq wanted every single rebound, he would have gotten every. I mean, there might have been one that chromed off the rim, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
something fluky. But if he really wanted that, we would have won 10 rings. Right?
Wow.
Do you remember Brad Miller?
Yeah.
Big guy, right? Chicago, Sacramento, legit 7 feet, big, strong dude. Okay, so I'm at the scorer's table for what reason I don't remember. I'm checking something with the score. Maybe I missed a foul or something, right? Okay. And Brad's checking in the game, which means he's got to come to the scorer's table to check in. And I only know Brad we're both in the NBA. I know Brad Miller is. Brad Miller knew who I was simply because I was the head athletic trainer for the Lakers, right?
Right.
So he looks down at me, checking in the game. And because the ball's live now, right? Okay. And he goes, gee, tell me the truth. He's 400 pounds, isn't he? I look up at him. I go, no, Brad, he's 358. He goes, no, no, it can't be. He says, I'm using all of my strength and power. I cannot budge him.
Wow.
So the point is if Brad Miller, one of the strongest guys in the NBA, cannot budge Shaq an inch, if he didn't want to be budged, if he wanted to go down and take the block on every play, there's nothing you could do about it.
Yes.
Okay. But that was too boring for him. He wanted to be Hakeem Olajuwon, post up away from the block. And, because as a 7-foot, 300 plus guy, he was cat-like, at least the beginning with us, you know what I mean? And he wanted to show his athleticism off. Now, he didn't have to touch that Olajuwon had, that fall away, baseline fall away. He ended up out of bounds.
Yep.
But it was too boring, like you put Kobe in the gym, he's a gym rat. I mean, he'd be in there for hours. He's make believe that could be there all alone. He may believe he was Michael Jordan. What's Shaq going to do? He's going to be George Mikan?
Yeah, right.
Do the Mikan drill, left hand hook, right hand cut, left hand, you know what I mean? Jump hook here, hook there. After 20, 30 minutes of that, I'm done. I'm out of here, And that was it. And I get it. I really.
So is the training, the conditioning? I mean, I've always heard, but I'll take it from you. Was that the breakdown between the two?
And that was used against it. And there was a certain part of that, if he didn't enjoy it, he didn't enjoy the practice and the drills and the stuff, because for a guy like him, it was boring.
Yeah.
No, it was boring. Now, you know, it's easy. It's easy to blame him, and it's easy to blame Kobe. What about the rest of us?
Hmm.
Right? What did I tell you before? That a team is like a family.
Yeah.
And sometimes you get mad at your mom or your dad or your brother and your sister, but you don't stop loving them. But it's a family. Okay? And we were supposed to be a family, and we had two brothers, siblings feuding with each other. And it was divisive.
Yeah.
And people chose sides. The players chose sides. The staff chose sides. The fans chose sides.
Sure. I mean, for years, Ireland and I would just say Shaq or Kobe, 877-710 ESPN, and people would call up and say their side.
Yeah. And it shouldn't have been that way.
Right.
Okay? It should have been.
Well, where did it go wrong? How could it have worked?
Jerry West left.
Yeah.
Plain and simple.
If Jerry was there, you think they would have rolled?
100%.
Wow. Wow.
We'll never know.
Yeah, we'll never know, but it's an amazing thought experiment.
And the reason why we'll never know, and I'm going to try to do this without getting choked up, because we no longer have Kobe. Because if Kobe was here, we could sit them both down and ask them.
Yeah.
You can ask Shaq.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see what he says. Okay? Shaq they both had tremendous respect for Jerry.
Hmm.
You know, and I but he
would have held it together.
100%. He put it together. He would have held it together. He put that together.
Yes.
He left before it was over.
Yep.
But he put it together.
Yeah, I want to ask about Phil. Phil is like one of the most fascinating guys. His coaching style, unlike anybody else. How would you describe Phil and the way he operated with this team and sort of his coaching style?
Yeah, there's a couple things that immediately pop into your mind. We actually had probably teams with more talent before Phil got there that didn't win, couldn't win.
Mm-hmm.
Now all of a sudden Phil Jackson shows up with, some would say, less talent, and right away we win 3.
Yeah.
Okay? So what is there about that? Well, number one, you're talking about big time, well paid athletes that have proven themselves to become part of one of the greatest franchises in any sport in the world. So they've already gotten there. Okay? So any coach that's going to come in is going to be like, well, what could you possibly tell me? Okay?
Right.
But if you bring a guy like Phil Jackson in, you have 2 things going for you. One, he's already won 6 rings.
Yep.
Okay. So he comes in with instant credibility. He didn't have to earn anybody's respect. He already had it. Part 2 to that, and he'd probably be okay with that part. He probably wouldn't be okay with this part. Okay. And Phil and I are, as far as I'm concerned, we're fine. Okay. He got a 5-year, $12 million contract. No coach was making that kind of money in those days.
Yep.
Guaranteed $60 million. What the owner is now saying to the players is, this guy's not going anywhere. Okay?
Yep.
It was very, very easy in the NBA if a general manager put a team together. I'm going to go off on a little bit of a tangent now. And this is what made Jerry West great. And your audience probably knows this, okay? But let me say it out loud. Putting a team together is like a jigsaw puzzle. There's only so many pieces in the puzzle.
Mm-hmm.
If there's a piece missing, you got a jigsaw puzzle that's missing a piece, you can never finish the puzzle.
Yep.
It's missing a piece. There's also no extra pieces in the puzzle. Okay.
Right.
And all the pieces are odd shapes. So you might have to, as a player, you might have to reshape yourself. Okay. Which means sacrifice a piece of yourself to fit into the puzzle. You have to find your place in the puzzle. Okay?
Right. Right.
Jerry West excelled at that, at putting puzzle together. That's the general manager's job. Now he hands that puzzle to the coach. Okay? Now, if the general manager and the coach, and of course the players, are all on the same page, all the arrows are pointing in the same direction, it makes it easy. It doesn't guarantee that you're going to win, but it gives you a chance.
Right. Right.
If the GM and the coach are on different pages, where the GM wants you to play these guys, but the coach wants to play these guys or this guy or whatever, now we have friction. If you have players that are in the training room saying, I should be starting, not coming off the bench, or I'm not even coming off the bench, they got me sitting, you can't have that. Okay. You have to all be on the same page to give yourself a chance to win. Okay. And it doesn't guarantee that you're going to win, but I could pretty much guarantee you won't if you're not all on the same page.
Right. Right.
Okay. So Jerry West puts this puzzle together. He hands it over to this coach who comes in with instant credibility. He doesn't have to waste any time trying to earn the respect of the players. Okay. And everybody's on the same page. Okay. And one of the things that Phil does, he does all of his coaching in practice. Okay. If you really watch different coaches, we have sideline coaches in the NBA that are running up and down the sideline, calling out plays, yelling and screaming. Okay. You have Phil sitting on the bench. Okay. And the other team's going on a run. And you're like, call timeout, call a timeout. Everybody except for Phil wants a timeout.
Yeah, it's the let him figure it out thing, right?
Exactly. And the reason why is because all the coaching was done in practice. And what that means is he didn't call plays. He ran a system. The triangle was a system.
Yep.
Okay. So even if he called timeout, you called timeout to maybe stop the bleeding. The other team's going, you stop their momentum. But from an offensive standpoint, yeah, you might be able to draw something up, but the fact is that you're still going to go back to the system. You're going to run the system, okay? If you're running a play and the other team has scouted you, which of course they have, they can stop a play. They know what 2 up is, okay? They know what fist up is. They know what 5 down is. They've been scouting you, They're at the game, listening to you, watching you. They got you on film, okay? But if you're running a system, okay, the ball moves, people move. Keep moving the ball, the people keep moving. Everybody touches the ball in Phil's system. So everybody's on board. They feel like they're part of the game. Okay. But one of the things that you needed in that system, you needed a closure. So the Bulls had Michael and we had Kobe and Shaq.
Yep.
So you're running the system for 23 seconds, 23 seconds, and you haven't found the right shot. Well, you got to have somebody that's willing to throw it up.
Yep.
Okay. And when those guys threw it up, there's pretty good chance it was going to go in. Now Kareem didn't operate in that system, but when anybody ever asked me, and I love Kobe, and I love Shaq, but if anybody ever asked me, the game's on the line, you have 1 second to throw up the winner. Who do you give the ball to? Give it to Kareem. For starters, if you're giving it to him, you're probably giving it to him in a pretty good place.
Yep.
Okay. And he's going to throw up a shot that's not going to get blocked.
Yeah, true.
And it's probably going to go in.
So wait a minute. So you're saying if you need a last shot of all the guys you worked with, you would have gone with Kareem?
That's correct.
Wow. Wow.
And I don't even like doesn't another name doesn't even come in my brain. Automatic. You give it to
Yeah.
Kareem.
Who is the smartest player you ever worked with? Intellectual smart.
Yeah, Magic, Kobe, um,
Kareem?
Kareem. Yeah, he's in there. Did you hear that from the background? That was my wife yelled
Oh,
out.
was it yelling out Kareem?
Hey,
How about the funniest?
okay.
Funniest player you worked with.
The funniest guy was probably Byron.
Really?
Scott's funny. Yeah, he's a funny cat, man. I mean, because he would imitate everybody, and he'd do you pretty good too.
Yeah.
Yeah, when we went to the reunion in Maui, Randy Funn told me that when he coached, that his biggest fear was that Byron would start imitating him as a head coach.
Oh, yeah.
That
He is not
I'm
good.
saying that because that came from Randy.
Yeah,
Okay,
right.
so
Right.
that was his biggest fear.
So do you miss it?
I miss the camaraderie.
Yeah.
I miss the relationships. I miss being part of a team, i.e., family.
Yeah.
Okay, with a common goal. You know what I mean? I miss that being part of something. You know, I don't miss the grind. I miss the per diem. Okay,
Per diem. Yeah.
per diem. Yeah, I miss that. The cash, man. I always had cash in I never have cash now, ever.
Yeah, I never
have
carry
Venmo.
cash. Yeah.
I got Venmo now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay. Um, yeah, I miss the camaraderie. I miss being part of a team or a family with a common goal. I don't really. I don't. It's a grind, man.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. Like I talked to John. I'm like, I don't know how he does it. Popping off a plane here, getting in at 4 a.m., still doing our show. I mean, it does seem like a really, really tough grind.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's a different grind for you guys, for the media.
Yeah.
Um, because when you're not doing something like around the team,
Yeah.
you're not with the team.
Yeah. Right.
Okay.
Right.
So like my position 24/7. I mean, even when I wasn't with the team, mentally I was still with the team.
Yeah.
I I talk about before we had cell phones and digital stuff, I always had a pad and a pen next to my bed, whether it was home or in the hotel, because I'd wake up in the middle of the night. Something popped into my brain that, I should probably make sure that I do this before Riley, realizes that we should do it. And I was afraid that by the time I woke up in the morning, I would have forgotten it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
So at night, I tell you how crazy this is. You're going to find this weird.
Okay.
So when you and I agreed to do this,
Yes.
I've woken up a couple times in the middle of the night, like worried about it.
Really?
Yeah, because I want to do a good job.
Oh, you're fantastic.
Okay. Well, I don't know. I mean, that's not for me to decide.
Oh, I mean, you're a great guest, man. That's what I wanted Gary on because you're a great guest.
Okay. I mean, but well, think about it. Like when you get on the air, you want to do a good job, right?
Absolutely.
So like you don't just wake up and, I mean, I'm sure you think about, well, like, what are we going to talk about today?
All the time, Gary. All the time. Yeah.
Well, it's not any different for me, and it's not any different. Not just with you. I try to limit the podcast that I do, so I can't say no to Byron.
Yeah.
I can't say no to Matt, and I put you in the same category.
Oh,
I
thank
couldn't say no to you. And part of that is that it comes with a certain level of anxiety that I don't need. You know what I mean? I'm retired.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, but obviously, I think really highly of you. I consider us friends. We ran into each other a while back, and
Yeah.
it was like, I mean, I remember the time that you and Ireland are on the air, and I'm in the car listening to you guys, and you're talking about Jessica Alba sitting next to me, okay, and how lucky I am. And then the next thing is how I'm talking to Jessica Alba during the game, okay? And then the next thing, I'm rubbing icy hot on Jessica Alba's knee. This is the kind of stuff that you guys were saying.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
And my wife's listening to this, right?
Oh, that's fantastic.
So I called in because I'm in the car. I called in. I go, hey, you guys, okay? My wife is listening to this stuff, okay? And she's like, you rub icy hot on Jessica? No, I didn't rub icy hot on Jessica Alba's knee. But for your fans, by the way, she was a really knowledgeable.
Oh, was she?
Believe it or
Oh,
not.
yeah.
Well, she was attached. I don't think they were married at the time, but she was attached to Cash. And
That's right.
And Cash's father was, he played with Kareem at UCLA.
Cash
Warren.
Michael Warren.
Michael Warren. Good guy. Great guy.
Hill Street Blues. He was fantastic.
Yeah, exactly. He was the cop on Hill Street Blues. And so on occasion, I would talk to Michael, and as a result, Cash would come with Jessica, and she told me that she would go over to the house and they watch games together and talk basketball. She was very knowledgeable.
Yeah, that's cool.
Alma Hayek was, when she was courting with Ed Norton, came to a lot of games. You'd be surprised how much she knew.
Yeah.
And the other one was Charlize. They're on. Okay.
Oh, geez.
Yeah. Knockout, right?
I mean, come on.
Yeah. I mean, she's a foot taller than me, but
Yeah, one of the most beautiful women in the world, without question.
Inside and out, like a regular, just a really regular person.
My buddy O'Shea Jackson Jr. did a movie with her and said she was like one of the guys.
Yes. Yeah.
Which makes her so much cooler.
Exactly. Yeah. Like there'd be times when the game would start, she'd come in a little bit later and because that was the first seat on the bench, she had to step over my MD bag to get to her seat. She sat right next to me. And somebody would be like kind of stepping over next to me, my bag. And I hear, hi, honey. And I look up, it's her calling me honey.
Wow. Yeah.
Just a very nice human being.
That's very cool. Hey, last thing for you. I want to ask one last thing. So you've dealt with some of the greatest athletes in the world, obviously every great Laker for the last 30 years. Boil that down, create a piece of advice for just average guy listening right now. What have you learned and what advice would you give just to the average guy?
Well, so the name of the book is 32 Years of Titles and Tears from the Best Seat in the House. But the subtitle is What I Learned About Happiness, Greatness, and Leadership. Mm-hmm. So in theory, looking back on the things that we talked about, we did talk about leadership.
Yep.
We talked about greatness.
Yep.
Okay. The thing that we didn't talk about was happiness. Okay. And I truly believe, because I wasn't always happy, but I didn't quite realize that I wasn't happy because I was chasing happiness.
Yep.
And what I mean by that, I was always chasing something.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And one of the things, at least back in the day, I mean, let's face it, the whole landscape is different now.
Yep.
Okay. But in those days, when you lost, it hurt. Like it hurt. And there was a saying back then, there's winning and there's misery and there's nothing in between.
Mm.
And I probably learned this lesson when Magic converted seropositive for HIV in 1991, where we were chasing the Bulls because we had just lost to them in 91. So we're chasing the ring.
Yep.
And we were miserable because we just lost the ring. Okay. So there's winning and there's misery. And the only way to get out of misery is to win. You with me?
I am with you.
So the only way to be happy is to win. It's the only thing that's in front of us. What about everything else in your life?
Right.
Beginning with your health and that of your loved ones. So what I learned, because we thought that Irv was going to die. I mean, we literally thought that. We thought it was a death sentence.
Yeah.
I mean, we believed it in our heart.
Oh, yeah, everybody did. Sure.
Yeah. So somehow, some way on this journey, because I got a lot of, it was a really difficult time in my life. And I had to finally go. And, I was really big believer in sports psychology.
Yep.
But this was sort of a different thing. This was a really dark thing. Okay. And I needed to work through that. And that's when I learned how much I really had in life.
Yep.
And that, yes, bad things are going to happen. Okay. But we should wake up every morning and look at what we have and be grateful for what we have.
Yep.
Okay? And that happiness, the secret to happiness is being grateful for what we have, not achieving what we're chasing. Because it's good. I'm saying this also. It's good to chase things. It's good to want more. But your happiness shouldn't rely on it, because if it does, you'll have these short sort of bursts of happiness as you go through life. And it kind of starts when you're in college. I just need to graduate, then I'd be happy. I don't have to take tests, and I can start making some money. Then I just need a job, and then I'll be happy. I need a promotion, then I'll be happy. Then I need someone to share my life with. You find that special person, and then we just need to buy a home, and then I'll be happy, especially in Southern California. How hard,
Yeah.
it doesn't have to be a big home, just a little something we can call our own. Yep. Then we have a child, and now the home's too small, and I just need just a little bigger home. You understand? It's always going to be something.
Yes.
And that's okay. And it should be that way. But you got to stop.
Yeah.
Almost every single day and be great. Because if we all went someplace and we took all of our troubles and put them on the table, and you listen to everybody else's, there's a really good chance you would pick your own up and go back home to your life.
Yeah, right. Right. Well, my Reverend Dr. Michael Beckwith always says, live with an attitude of gratitude.
Yes. And as a result, I used to go to Agave and during part of that time.
You used to go to Agape?
Yeah. And Agape, sorry. And
yeah,
I was thinking tequila, agave.
Of course.
Okay. Yeah, and I learned lots of lessons there, great lessons.
Yes.
And it's a wonderful, wonderful place.
Yeah, it really is. It really is.
Yeah.
Well, listen, Gary, this has been fantastic. The book is called 32 Years of Titles and Tears from the Best Seat in the House. It is on Amazon. I personally just purchased it in advance of this, and it is so cool to get you on. You're a great storyteller. Love an amazing, amazing career, and appreciate you making the time, man.
All right. Hey, listen, let's get together. We don't have to be on camera so I don't get the anxiety.
Yes.
Okay. And
we'll meet up in Manhattan Beach and get a beer.
Perfect.
All right.
Bring the dog. Bring your dog.
I will bring both of them. Yeah, both.
Okay. We got, do we have Chantilly that day?
Yes.
150-pound Great Dane.
Yeah.
It's going to be a year almost that we rescued her, and she's
beautiful.
And yeah. So people ask me what I do with my retired life, and well, she's $400 a month to feed, so 150-pound dog.
Yeah, she's a big girl for sure.
Yeah, she's awesome.
Let's get together soon, man. Thank you so much, Gary. Yeah, love you too, man. Thanks.
Bye-bye.
There you have it. There's Gary Vitti. What a great guy, and what a great storyteller. Took us through multiple eras of Lakers basketball. The one thing that jumped out at me, if Jerry West was there, he would have worked out the differences between Kobe and Shaq, and they might have gone on to win 10 titles. That's straight from Gary Vitti, a guy that was there. Thank you very much for watching, and thank you very much for listening. Don't forget, if you're watching, Hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, and leave any kind of comment, reaction, review, whatever you got down below. Subscribe on Apple and Spotify. 5-star rating and a review, much appreciated. Thank you very much for watching, and we will see you next time on Mason Plus.